Hello, world. I think we're live. Let me just move the camera a little bit. Here we go. That's better. So, in this week's episode, I'm going to review A Working Man from 2025. And then I'm going to talk about my top 5 Jason Statham movies, with a few honorable mentions. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk Jason Statham. It's all about action movies tonight. That's right. Live from Niagara Falls, it's Mr. FLIXTER Show, live on Saturday nights. Thank you for clicking on my video. Hello, world. I'm Chris Maitany, aka Mr. FLIXTER. Mr. FLIXTER. So, before I get to this week's topic, I just want to touch on last week's topic. I just want to talk about last week's episode a little bit, do a little follow-up, and then I want to talk about a little bit of movie news that is really interesting in my opinion. I think you're going to be quite surprised. But before we get to that, if you've been watching my channel, you know I've had this ongoing struggle with the screen sharing. The saga continues. I'm going to try one more time. Hopefully this works. I'm going to try and pull up the box office for last weekend, because last week I talked about The Wolfman. I gave my spoiler-free review for that. And I also talked about Blumhouse movies, because last week was the opening weekend for Drop. So bear with me. I'm going to try and do this again. The saga continues. The epic battle with the screen share. So let's try this. All right. Hopefully this works. If you can still see me, please let me know in the comments. I know the screen looks kind of weird right now. I'm going to try this. Here we go. Let's try a new tab. And let's get the weekend box office. Hopefully this is working. Okay, this is from Box Office Mojo. But I want to go to last week. Okay, so here are the top 10 movies for last weekend. And Drop made $7.3 million. For that kind of movie, with that kind of budget, that's not bad. And then Minecraft, which I reviewed 2 weeks ago, made $78.5 million. And its grand total is $278.8 million. So I'm still going to go with my prediction. I think it's on its way to $1 billion. I really do think it's going to make $1 billion. So let's go back here. And hopefully that worked. Okay. Did you people did I get lost there? If you can see me still in the comments, please let me know. Because I can repeat myself, I don't mind. It worked. Yes, yes, I win. Victory is mine. Awesome. Woo! Thank you for letting me know, Sabrina and Beth. All good. Yeah, cool. All right, moving on. The little bit of movie news that I wanted to touch on. Today is actually Tim Curry's birthday. And as soon as I found this out, I knew that I had to include this in the episode tonight. So he was born in 1946. He turned 79 today. He was born in Grappenhall, Warrington, UK, which is about 30 minutes away from Manchester. And some movies that I think are some of his best, just in case you're not familiar, are Home Alone 2 from 1992, Muppet Treasure Island from 1996, It from 1990, Clue from 1985, good year, by the way. He was in Annie from 1982. He appeared in Scary Movie 2 from 2001. He also appeared in Tales from the Crypt. He was in Rugrats Go Wild. He was the voice of Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberrys, and they had their crossover movie. And he was in Fern Gully from 1982. And the much underrated The Pebble and the Penguin from 1995. But the biggest movie he was in, one of my personal favorites, is of course the Rocky Horror Picture Show. All these movies are classics, if you ask me. So if you haven't seen those, I highly recommend them. Happy birthday, Tim Curry. All right. So now, let's get to the main event, shall we? Oh, speaking of, Sabrina says, I'm disappointed that Working Man didn't make more money than it did. Yeah, so since I know how to do this now, I'm going to try that again. Let's see how much money that one made. So bear with me. Okay. Oh, not that. All right, back to Box Office Mojo. Where is it? Last week, it made $3 million, and its total was $33.4 million. But let's see how much it made this weekend. So far. Let's just go back. Okay, they don't have the numbers officially for this one yet. Okay, that's fine. It made $33 million. Okay, let's go back. Here I am. Okay, I'm back. Oh, Sabrina says Tim Curry also did an episode of Criminal Minds. Thank you. Yeah, he did a lot of television too. He's just one of those legendary actors with one of those one-of-a-kind voices that as soon as you see him, you're just drawn to his presence. He's just so magnetic like that. And actors like that are few and far between. He's like one of those definitions of what a movie star truly is. And I think that the definition of what a movie star is has changed over the years, but he really withstands the test of time. Just one of those classic actors. So I had to mention him. I grew up watching him. So yeah, let's talk about a working man, shall we? So let me see if I can do this. This is fun. Okay, gotta bring this back up. All right, let's go to Letterboxd. Because I want to pull up the poster real quick. Working man. Here we go. This one. So here's the description according to Letterboxd. Loving Cade left behind a decorated military career in the Black Ops to live a simple life working construction. But when his boss's daughter, who is like family to him, is taken by human traffickers, his search to bring her home uncovers a world of corruption far greater than he could ever imagine. Human traffickers beware. Not that one. No, I gotta go here. Aha. Okay. It was directed by David Ayer. And the screenplay was actually done by Sylvester Stallone and David Ayer. But the film is based off a 2014 novel called Levin's Trade. It was written by Chuck Dixon. And this is the book series that has 12 books in it in total. So there might be sequels, and I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. So when I was doing my research, I found out that shooting for this movie actually began basically immediately after The Beekeeper, which came out last year. That's one of the reasons why Jason Statham's the topic tonight. He had a movie come out this year. He had a movie come out last year. And he's had a career of almost 30 years. That's incredible. I grew up watching this guy. So I thought, why not talk about him tonight? But don't worry, I do have plans for an Easter video. I'm going to review the 10 Commandments, and that one's coming soon. Also, a little follow-up, not really a follow-up, but an update on what's going on with the channel. I haven't shot my Snow White video yet because I haven't really had time, because last week was my last week of school. So I've been busy with that, but now that that's over, I'll have more time to work on stuff for the channel. So I can shoot my Snow White video and get that out there. And I've already shot my Sonic video. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago when I did my video game episode. So that's coming too. Those are the next two pre-recorded videos. So watch out for those. And it's kind of fitting actually. Funny story. The reason I went to see The Working Man on a Thursday night is because that was the last night that it was going to be in theaters. The next day they were changing the movies around. So my last day of school, I saw A Working Man the last night that it was in theaters. I just thought that was kind of funny. Kind of fitting. But yeah, most of the crew that worked on The Beekeeper worked on this movie too. They just kind of stayed behind in London and shot one movie right after the other. But the two movies are completely unrelated. Like, they're not sequels to each other. Like, no. Oh, I can hide that now. What I like about this movie most is it's a heartwarming tale about a rescue story. Now, this has been told time and time again, but the way this one does it, I think, is a little bit different than the other ones. Because this one is a slow-paced story. It really takes its time before getting to the action. And there's not as much action, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's more drawn out. They're few and far between. but it takes time for the story and it takes time for characters to develop. Like there's scenes between Jason Statham and his daughter that are really sweet, and you really see how much he cares for her. Because for some reason, there's this subplot about a custody battle between him and his father-in-law, I think it is. It has something to do with the mother not being in the picture anymore. It's not entirely clear, and it gets unresolved. Like there's no resolution for it. It doesn't really end up mattering in the end. But that's just a minor complaint that I have. And then one complaint that I have is that the movie is, oh, sorry, wrong button. The movie's almost 2 hours long, and you can feel the runtime. Because there's a few other unnecessary scenes like that. Like after the kidnapping happens, what Statham does is he ends up turning it down eventually, like at first, and then he like goes to his friend's house, kind of talks about it with him a little bit, and then like the next day he goes back and he's like, you know what, never mind, I changed my mind, I'll do it. Like, did you really have to put that family through that disappointment when they asked you the first time to say no? And then you come back and you're like, yeah, you know what, I thought about it. And it's not like he talked to his friend and his friend convinced him. Like he went to his friend with his mind made up. And he starts talking to him. It's like, I got to do this for this reason, and that reason. And his friend's like, well, then what are you doing here? Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, little things like that bother me. The cast in this movie is incredible. So, along with Jason Statham, you got Jason Fleming, you got Michael Pena, and you got David Harbour. And it's interesting because Jason Fleming has been in other movies with Jason Statham. They worked together in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and they worked together in Snatch and The Transporter 2. So this is their fourth movie together. That's awesome. The action in this movie is incredible. I love the way this movie's shot. It's very well lit, and the camera work is fun. Another minor complaint that I have is the editing in this movie. Sometimes the fight scenes are shot a little too close up, so it's hard to tell what's going on. I prefer it in my action movies, especially when it comes to like martial arts fighting scenes, when the camera is pulled back in that nice long shot, and you can really see the fighting. They just hold the take. Sometimes they go back and forth like this a little bit, just so they can follow the people moving on the screen. But you don't have to get too close. When you get too close, it gets hard to see. So that's another minor complaint that I have. Like I said, this movie does a really good job with the world building. There's a lot of very animated, very cartoonish villains, and it makes the film fun like that. Because it starts off one way. It starts really like this gritty 80s or 90s action flick. And then it just kind of goes in different directions. And it's kind of fun because you don't know like where it's going to go. We end up going to different clubs. There's a subplot about taking down drug dealers. There's a subplot about human trafficking. But these ones actually do end up mattering in the end. And just the way he gets from one like fight scene to the next scene to the next scene, he's very patient. I like how he does his investigation. This is the more subdued role for Jason Statham. He's not so in your face about it. And when he does get to the action scenes, I think he delivers. Especially since he's getting up there in age now. It's pretty impressive the stuff he can do. But along with that, I do have another minor complaint. He seems to be invincible in this. Like nothing hurts him, no matter what. It's the point where he doesn't even really dodge bullets. People start shooting. He just kind of slowly walks away from it and just kind of ducks a little bit. Like there's no like urgency or anything like that. It's not like Die Hard when he's constantly getting hurt. Like you feel bad for John McClane after a while because of what he goes through. In this, he almost feels like a superhero. So it kind of loses the groundedness of it all, if that makes sense. And one thing I don't get, but this is the common trope, and especially in martial arts movie, everybody fights him one at a time. Nobody thinks to like dogpile him or like just tackle him all at once. There's rooms full of people watching him fight, but they take their turn and just go in one at a time. It's kind of funny. It's kind of cliche, but hey, these movies have those things. Still, the way this movie's paced, this is a very different Jason Statham movie compared to other things that we've seen. It's a lot slower. The tone is a lot more, well, it starts off dark, but then it gets kind of lighthearted toward the middle, and then it ends up getting toward dark. Like the tone is kind of up and down, but it's kind of a smooth flow. It doesn't feel jarring at all. Yeah, I do think the film is too long because it does get kind of repetitive about halfway through. But again, these are all just minor complaints. Overall, A Working Man does function as like a modern day hard-boiled crime drama. And I like how they take an old premise and kind of breathe new life into it. And it's kind of funny too, because all week I've been watching a lot of Jason Statham movies, and I didn't realize it until I started watching his movies back to back to back. There's a lot of movies where he's like ex-military and they just got like an ordinary day job because he's retired now. It's just funny how how often excuse me, how often that reoccurs in his films. Oh, excuse me, 1 second. I have to get a drink. Okay. But yeah, this is the classic tale of an ex-military person who gets thrown into a situation that he doesn't really want to be in because it's the right thing to do. And you can tell that Stallone had a hand in this because his fingerprints are all over this. It really does feel like a Sylvester Stallone movie, which I think is cool too. And if you think about it, it's cool too that he kind of realized that because originally he wrote this for himself to be in, but he realized he's kind of up in age, so he couldn't really do the stunts anymore. So he let his friend Jason Statham do it instead. I also heard rumors that this was supposed to be a television show on a streaming service, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. So don't quote me on that. I've also heard that they took multiple books and combined them into one movie, but again, I'm just going off hearsay, so I never read the books or anything like that. But yeah, if you don't like your typical Jason Statham movie, then you might not like this. Personally, I think sometimes plot contrivances they could be forgiven as long as the movie is fun. And this movie is entertaining. I love this movie. I thought it was great. It's heartfelt, more heartfelt than most of his movies are. It's actually character driven, unlike most of his movies. And the action, I think the action is not the best, but I think it's up there. It's really good. There's some really fun action scenes of this. Like there's a scene in the club where he's taking on all these guys at once. And just the way he fights and he uses his environment, it's really inventive. Oh, we got a comment. Elizabeth says, to me, Jason Statham is like the Nicolas Cage of action films. Nick Cage just pumps movies out all the time, cross genres. Jason Statham does this, but strictly in action flicks. Yeah, yeah. And it's like I was saying too, a lot of times he plays the same character. And it's kind of funny because it works so many times. I'll never get tired of watching Jason Statham. Even the movies that are like average aren't bad. That's why I'm not doing a worst of this week because I can't talk bad about Jason Statham. Jason Statham's awesome. My official grade for a working man 2025 is large popcorn. And remember, with hands like that, he ain't no cop. He's a working man. That's actually a line in the movie. I love it. I always wait for it when they say the name of the movie in the movie. And then when they do, it's always worth the wait. So now, let's talk about my top 5 Jason Statham films, shall we? With a few honorable mentions too. So I'll do the first 4, then I'll talk about some honorable mentions, and then I'll get to that number 1 spot. Okay, just getting my notes in order, sorry. 1 second. Okay. So let's try this screen sharing again one more time. I'm so happy that it worked. Oh, there's one more comment. My sister says, just like when they said Minecraft in Minecraft, I was like, they said it. Yeah. I do that with every time whenever they say the name of the movie in the movie. They said it. Some people don't like that. I think it's awesome. Okay, so let's try the screen share again. All right, and then we go here. All right, back to Letterboxd. So, at number 5. Whoa. Hold on, I want to make sure I get the right movie. Yeah, okay. At number 5. This is the newer film, but I loved it so much. It totally earned a spot on this list. And that is number 5. Let's try this again. At number 5, Operation Fortune from 2023. This movie is hilarious. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a crime drama. Well, I wouldn't really call it a drama. It's a heist movie. It is hilarious. It's more like an action comedy, actually. Yeah, this is totally an action comedy. Sorry, I misclassified that. It was directed by Guy Ritchie. It was written by Guy Ritchie, Ivan Atkinson, and Martin Davies. Sorry if I butchered that. In this movie, Jason Statham plays Orson. It also stars Audrey Plaza and Carrie Elwes. And I believe Josh Hartnett's in this too. Yeah, he is. And Hugh Grant. So let's go back, shall we? Oh, wait, I gotta go here. Okay. And then we'll just put this away. Actually, can I do this so I'm on the screen too? Hold on, let me play with this. Oh, look at that. Hey, we're learning. Okay, so now I go here, I think. But am I still on the screen too? I'm not sure if this is working properly. Okay, well, you saw the poster. Cool. All right, let's go back. Back to me. Okay, sorry, I'm having too much fun. Let's get rid of that. I'm not quite sure how that works. Okay, I'm back. Cool. Yeah. This movie's really good because it's not your average heist movie. It's kind of an ensemble movie, but Jason Statham really shines here. Oh, criteria. That's right. Jason Statham's in a lot of movies, and a lot of the movies are ensemble movies. So I'm trying to focus on movies that are more about his character directly. He doesn't necessarily have to be the main character, but his character does have to be like the main focus. So there's a lot of ensemble movies, and characters kind of get lost in that. So I didn't really count those. I'm talking more about like his solo movies specifically. So yeah, this one's really good because it's a globetrotting movie, and you go all over the world, and there's this cat and mouse game constantly going on, and I can't even count how many times I put this on because it's just so rewatchable. It's one of those movies you can have on when you're kind of like cleaning up around the house, you have it going on in the background, or you sit down with your friends, you can share it with them, or even if you're just looking for something to watch and you're not sure, so you can just put this one on. Like, this movie's so good. I love it. So yeah, that's number 5, Operation Fortune. At number 4, oh, this might not work. Okay. Number 4 is a tie. So, you know what? I can pull up each poster individually. Let's try that. Make sure I click the right window. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We got this going. So number 4 is a tie, because I couldn't really decide which one I liked him in more. So number 4 is Furious 7. I just want to get the poster on screen. Here it is. And of course, this one is tied with Fate of the Furious. Let's just get this poster going. If it loads. Okay, sorry, it's being a little slow. What if I try to refresh the page? Oh, here it is. It's coming. There it is. So hopefully you can see the poster. Let's go back to me. Oh, wait, wrong button. Here it is. Okay, let's just remove this. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, and this one, Jason Statham plays Deckard Shaw. And I know what I said about ensemble movies, but Deckard Shaw really is a standout character in these movies. And it totally made sense after some of the other movies that he'd been in that he joined the Fast and the Furious cast. And I was so excited when the Furious 7 came out. And it's interesting too, because especially in Furious 7, he plays the villain for once instead of the hero. So it's cool to see him flip roles like that. So yeah, Furious 7 came out in 2015. Can you believe that? Almost 9 years ago? Actually, exactly 9 years ago. No, wait, 2015. My math is off. That's 10 years ago. Wow. I'm not good at math. It was directed by James Wan. And it was written by Chris Morgan and Gary Scott Thompson. It's also got Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. As for Fate of the Furious, this one came out 2 years later in 2017. It was directed by F. Gary Gray. It was written by Gary Scott Thompson and Chris Morgan. And this one also has, well, basically the same people: Vin Diesel, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You know the cast of Fast and the Furious. You got Ludacris in there. Luke Evans pops up every once in a while. Helen Mirren shows up in Fast and the Furious. Who knew? You name it, people have probably shown up in Fast and the Furious. Even Kurt Russell. Okay. It's just one of those franchises that just never dies, and it keeps adding cast members. But it really changed when Jason Statham came into the picture as Deckard Shaw, because he came on a revenge mission as a follow-up to Part 6, because he plays Luke Evans' brother. And it's really cool to see him do all the driving that he's known for, but in the Fast and the Furious movies. And in Part 8, most of the movie, well, the first like third of the movie is just Jason Statham and The Rock talking trash to each other in prison. And that's just hilarious. Some of the best moments in that scene are just the two of them fighting with each other. And that prison break scene from Fate of the Furious. Oh my God, talk about one of the most insane action scenes I've ever seen at the time. He just takes the, not taser. It's kind of like one of those batons, but it's electric too. I'm not really sure what the name of it is, but it causes all the cells to open up and all the convicts come up and start beating all the police up. And then Deckard Shaw comes out of nowhere. He just jumps off of this platform. He must have jumped like 3 stories down on top of people and just fights his way through. And The Rock's trying to stop him. Like, oh, it's such a good scene. But on top of that, I really do think that these two movies have some of the best chase scenes in the entire franchise. And I think that's largely because of Jason Statham. Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but he does most of his own stunt driving. Kind of like how Nicolas Cage does. Excuse me one second. So Fast and the Furious really started getting outrageous after the 5th one. But in Part 7, when Jason Statham enters the picture, it takes a really dark tone. It's probably one of the most brutal roles so far, for a PG-13 movie at least. And in Fate and the Furious, he kind of switches sides. He ends up being more of a good guy, because he ends up helping Don and everybody else. He kind of gets his redemption arc. So the character development between the two movies, like really, they could work together as one movie if you play them back to back. Actually, if you play the 6th one too, they all make a pretty good trilogy. But he's not really in Part 6. He shows up toward the end and it's kind of muddled with the writing. But anyways, yeah. Number 4, the tie between Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious. And that's why. So, moving right along. Thank you, Sabrina. You're still there. Yes! It worked. Finally. It only took me 4 weeks. It's a learning process. All right. Number 3. Number 3 is more of a unconventional choice. So let's go back to Letterboxd. I'm not even sure if this is working. Can you see me in this little screen? Because I have to go to another window and I can't even see like what I'm looking at. So, okay. Anyways, let's go back to Letterboxd. In case you didn't know, all my reviews are available on Letterboxd too. I have over 200 reviews available. So enjoy. Here we go. At number 3. Spy. Here we go. Sorry, I lost my mouse for a second. Oh, wait, I gotta go here. Yeah, okay. Let's just get rid of this. Okay. Yeah, Spy. This is actually more of a comedy movie. So it's an unconventional role for Jason Statham. But on top of that, instead of being the hero, he's a total screw up in this movie. So again, kind of like in Furious 7, it's fun to see him play against type as being the heroic person who comes in and saves the day at the last minute. He actually makes things worse for everybody in this movie. And it's hilarious because the whole time he's telling Melissa McCarthy, don't screw this up. Don't screw this up. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Let's talk about the movie, shall we? The cast and the crew first. I got my notes here. My girlfriend took the time to write some notes for me, and I really appreciate that. She's so sweet. I just lost my spot. Sorry. One moment, please. All right, Spy. This came out in 2015. It was written and directed by Paul Feig. Sorry if I butchered that. And in this one, Jason Statham plays Agent Rick Ford. It also stars Jude Law and Melissa McCarthy. Thank you, sweetie. And yeah, basically, this isn't a spoiler. But basically, this is how the movie starts off. Jude Law is on a mission. And Melissa McCarthy is the person that's on the phone with him while he goes and does his spy work. In the beginning, he gets killed. So it's all about Melissa McCarthy trying to find the people who did it. And Jason Statham, he plays another agent who is a friend of Jude Law's character. So while Melissa McCarthy goes off on this mission, he goes completely off the grid. And he just tries to do everything that he can that he thinks he's helping, but he's really not in the long run. And it's hilarious. He has some of the funniest lines in this movie. I don't know how he kept a straight face. I don't know if you've seen the bloopers for this, but it is hilarious. Some of the stuff is so outrageous. I put clips from the movie in my advertisement for this episode. It's available on my channel if you wanted to see it. I posted it, I think, Friday or something. But yeah, I'm going to try and do little advertisements. It'll be shorter than the one I did before for the new episodes for the live streams coming up. And each week I'll update you on what's going on the channel, what's going on with like my life and stuff like that. And then we'll get to the main topic. Oh, and I'll do a follow-up, of course. But yeah, Spy. What's cool about this movie too is it's a globe-trotting movie. Kind of like how, Furious 7 and Fate and the Furious, I like that too. I should have mentioned that. But I love movies where you travel around to at least 3 or 4 different countries, because you really get a sense of what kind of culture they had. And it's just cool to see different places in the world, especially if it's places that I've visited before. It's nice to go down that memory lane. But yeah, the biggest plus about this is, even though he's not technically the main character, he's still a big part in this movie. He's like one of the side characters, but still, a large chunk of this film is focused on how much Jason Statham is screwing up the mission for Melissa McCarthy. And he's always telling her, don't screw this up. Don't screw this up. Meanwhile, like there's one scene when he's trying to lose himself through a crowd, but one of the enemies puts a bomb into his backpack. So he nearly gets himself killed. And that's just one example. There's another scene where he tries to fight someone in the helicopter, but he ends up falling out of the helicopter. There's just little things like that. You think it's going to go one way, especially the first time you see it. You think it's going to go one way. Then it goes the completely opposite way. I love Spy. So that's why it's number 3. Highly recommended. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to do my grades. I'm getting ahead of myself. Silly me. All right. So with Operation Fortune, I give that one a large popcorn. With both Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious, I also give a large popcorn. And for Spy, it's an extra large popcorn. So now, let's get to number 2, shall we? Let's go back to Letterboxd. You have no idea how happy I am this is actually working. So here we go. All right, we got this here. Now this next movie I almost did the same thing I did with the Fast and the Furious movies, but then after my rewatching, I decided, no, this one really deserves its own spot. Because really, it stands above and beyond the other movies in its franchise. It's also one of the first introductions to Jason Statham for me personally. Oops, if I could spell. Try that again. So, my number 2 Jason Statham movie is The Transporter 2. If it looks. Here we go. Come on, internet, don't fail me now. Woo! Transporter 2. So, The Transporter, I think, was my introduction to Jason Statham because I ended up seeing that before I saw his first film. Oh, wrong button. Yeah, we got the poster. Cool. I love movie posters. Let me just... Actually, if it's on the screen with me, I can just leave it up there. Let's do that. Yeah. Eventually I'll figure out the flow of the show. So, a little bit of information about The Transporter 2. This movie came out in 2005. And at first, I didn't remember this movie, but then when I did the rewatch, it was like that. Instantly, I remembered. I even remembered seeing this in theaters on the big screen with some of the scenes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, Transporter 2. This was directed by Louis Leterrier. Sorry if I butchered that. And Corey Yuen. Fun fact, Louis Leterrier, I'm just going to say it like that, also directed the Incredible Hulk movie for the MCU. The one with Edward Norton. And it was written by Luc Besson. Luc Besson. I think that's how you say that. Robert Mark Kamen. In case you didn't know, Luc Besson also did one of my favorite sci-fi movies. He wrote and directed The Fifth Element. Amazing film. But back to Jason Statham. He plays Frank Martin. And the movie stars sorry, one second. We'll just go down the page a little bit here. It's got Amber Valletta, Alicia Gumman, Kate Nuda, Matthew Modine, Jason Fleming. I mentioned him earlier. It's got Hunter Clay, and it's got Francois Berland. Sorry if I butchered that. But yeah, he was in the first one. He was the inspector. So it's cool that he appeared up as a recurring character in this one. Hold on, let's go back. There we go. Because in the first one, he was kind of chasing Jason Statham, and then he kind of sees eye to eye with him, and he starts helping him out after a while because he sees that Jason Statham is one of the good guys. So in the second one, they're friends. The first one takes place in France, but this one takes place in Miami. So it's cool to have a different setting. It's nice when movies do that. They don't keep retreading the old things. And that's what I like about this movie. It takes everything you love about the first Transporter movie and just amplifies it and exemplifies it. And it just takes everything to the extreme in this movie. This movie is so extreme. It's got mid-2000s written all over it when it comes to like the cinematography, the way it was shot, the way it was edited, even the soundtrack. Like the soundtrack to this is sometimes it doesn't really fit with the fight scenes, the music that's playing, but it's hilarious the way that in a weird way it kind of works. Like on paper, this shouldn't work, but it does, and it works so well. And one thing that I really liked about this movie is it kind of shifts the focus. Instead of this one being about another girl, like what the first one's about, this one is about how he's got to save a little boy because he's got this virus, and if he's really contagious, and it's going to affect a lot of people because, well, his father's a politician. I don't want to say too much. But yeah, it really raises the stakes in this, and it really takes the action. Like in the first one, the action's at 10. This one cranks it up to like 20. That's how insane this movie is. I mean, we got Jason Statham on a jet ski chasing a school bus. That's like midway through. We got a really cool chase in like a parking garage when he does this like spinning move in the car and it gets right onto the edge. And just the way this movie's filmed, you can see like how high up he is. And this movie's all about scope and scale. This movie is so much bigger than the first Transporter. I can't get enough of this movie. It's so much fun. Excuse me. And again, it's got the really over-the-top cartoonish villains that I love. It's got Jason Statham in just like a regular day job. He's ex-military. He goes on this insane mission that he doesn't really want to be a part of at first, but he doesn't really have a choice, kind of like Die Hard style, but he's not stuck in one spot. He goes all over the city. And it's got this hilarious subplot with the inspector because he comes to visit him. And he keeps trying to meet up with him, but he keeps getting delayed. And he ends up getting like phone calls back and forth, and the whole time they're like on the phone with each other, but they still have that same rapport, so it's really funny. The first one was done by the same crew first, but like I said, this one really took everything that was good about it and made it better. The third one's good too, but it kind of feels like more of a rehash than of the other ones. It's not as original. It's not as fresh. Like it's good. Don't get me wrong, but for those reasons, that's why Transporter 2 is on my list. So number 2, Transporter 2, and for this, I give it an extra large popcorn. I love the Transporter 2. So before I get to my number 1 pick, hold on, where am I? Here I am. That's kind of a crazy screen. A screen within a screen within a screen. Let's get rid of that. Here I am. I'm back. Oh, let's go to the chat real quick. But yeah, before I get to my number 1 spot, I want to talk about a few honorable mentions. My sister says, I never saw Transporter 2. Glad it's a good sequel. Yeah. I'm not sure if you were with us, Beth, but I remember Dad took me and Nick to see this. It was in Ohio, I think. So we went to the cheap theater, the dollar one. Pretty sure it was that one. But yeah, some of these scenes when I was watching it, I remember seeing it on the big screen. And I'm so glad that I have that memory. No, Ewan McGregor is not in Transporter 2. I think you might be thinking of Trainspotting or something along those lines. As far as I know, he doesn't have a movie with Jason Statham. Okay. So let's talk about these honorable mentions, shall we? Okay, let's pull up my screen. Here we go. Back to Letterboxd. The first honorable mention that I want to talk about is Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels. And give it a moment. Here we go. There's the poster. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, awesome. Great poster, by the way. Cool. Okay. So this one was directed by Guy Ritchie and written by Guy Ritchie as well. Jason Statham plays a character named Bacon. It's also got Dexter Fletcher and Nick Moron. Sorry if I butchered that. It's also got Vinnie Jones in it. And this is all about a card shark, as you can see here in the description. Is unwillingly enlisted by his friends and needs to make a lot of cash after losing a sketchy poker match. To do this, they decided to pull a heist on a small-time gang who happened to be operating out of the flat next door. So yeah, the reason this didn't make the list is because this is an ensemble movie. But for his first movie, Jason Statham is a natural on screen, and he really is one of the standouts in this large group of people. But yeah, this is just a fun take on your average heist flick. The cast is great. The chemistry is amazing. The pacing is pretty good, and the way it's shot is really interesting. That's the thing about Guy Ritchie. The way he shoots his films is always amazing. You never know like what kind of style he's going to add to it, because he's the kind of director. Not all his movies have the same feel to it. Some directors, when you're watching a movie without even knowing that person directed it, you can tell, oh, this is the Michael Bay film. This is the Martin Scorsese film. This is the Spielberg film. You know what I mean? Like some directors have that certain touch, but that's the cool thing about Guy Ritchie. He's got that versatility. Not every movie feels like a Guy Ritchie movie, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Highly recommended. The next one that's worth mentioning is another heist flick called Snatch. This came out in 2000. And again, this didn't make the list because this is another ensemble film. There's a large group of people in this movie. Hold on, let's get to the stats first. It was written and directed by Guy Ritchie again. Stars Jason Statham as Turkish, Brad Pitt, Stephen Graham, and Vinnie Jones. And this one is all about an unscrupulous boxing promoters, violent bookmakers, Russian gangsters, incompetent amateur robbers, and supposedly Jewish jewelers fight and track down a priceless stolen diamond. This movie's hilarious because it's that constant cat and mouse game about who's going to get the diamond. Without saying too much, you're not going to believe how this movie ends. This is all spoiler free. I don't want to ruin any of these movies in case somebody comes across this video and they haven't seen it yet. So yeah, this is one of those movies I don't want to say too much about because it's just one of those fun movies that's full of surprises. And it's so smart. It's not, the characters don't do dumb things just so the plot keeps progressing. So I like when writers take a lot of time to take the time to put a lot of thought into their movies. I can talk today. I like when your writers put thought into their movies like that. There we go. I got there. And he looks so young in this. Look at him. That was 25 years ago. All right. So the next honorable mention. This is one of probably his lesser known ones. The reason this one didn't make the cut is partially because it's an ensemble movie, but also because he's not really the main character. Like, he's barely in it, but he's memorable. And that movie is Ghost of Mars. This one was directed by John Carpenter. It was written by Larry Sulkus and John Carpenter. Stars Jason Statham as Sergeant Jericho Butler, Natasha Hendridge, and Ice Cube. Now, don't get me wrong. This technically is not a good movie by any means. This is one of those so bad that it's good movies because it's just so over the top and it's just so ridiculous and so nonsensical. You just can't help but have a good time when you're watching it because it's just so cheesy. This is like those old 70s and 80s sci-fi movies. Basically, it's the year 2178 and the Martian police unit is sent in to pick up a highly dangerous criminal on a remote mining post. But upon arrival, the cops find the post is deserted and something far more dangerous than criminals is going on the planet of Mars. The original inhabitants are hell-bent on getting their planet back. So this is kind of like part zombie movie, kind of like part anti-heist movie, because they're, instead of trying to break into a place, they're trying to break out of the place that they're stuck in, where they're being swarmed by all these. They're kind of like zombies, but not really. It's like a virus that they get, that I think they breathe it in or something like that. I'm not entirely clear, but yeah, it's basically part zombie movie, part heist movie. But the way that the action is staged is really over the top. The practical effects makeup is really good. There's not really that much CGI. You can see they built all the sets in this. This is another one. I remember seeing it in theaters when it came out, and it is such a good time. I enjoyed it then, and I enjoy it to this day. So that's Ghosts of Mars. And this movie is violent. I could not believe how violent this movie is. It was shocking when I was a kid. And Ice Cube's a lot of fun in this too. Side note. I know it's not really about him tonight, but I love a good performance. But yeah, Jason Statham in this as Jericho. He's not in that picture, sorry. He's one of those no-nonsense people. And every time that Natasha Andrews tries to give her command because she's the boss, he's always the one that's always talking back to her. And it is hilarious. But it's not a big role. That's why he's not. Well, but that's why this one didn't make the cut. So yeah, that is, sorry, I'll stop moving the screen there, right there, poster. That is Ghosts of Mars. Again, not a great movie or a good movie by any stretch, but it's one of those so bad it's good movies. You can bring your friends over, you can watch this, you can just have a good time with it. So, the next movie in my honorable mentions is another ensemble film. He's in a lot of ensemble films, actually. If I can spell correctly, yeah. So, the next honorable mention is The Italian Job. Come on, internet, let's go. Boom, there it is. Italian Job. So this movie came out in 2001. Sorry, 2003. It was directed by F. Gary Gray. That's 2 movies that he directed with Jason Statham. It was written by Troy Kennedy Martin, Donna Powers, and Wayne Powers. Stars Jason Statham as Handsome Rob. It's also got Donald Sutherland, Mark Wahlberg, and Seth Green. I think it also has Charlize Theron in it. Let me just double check that. Yeah, that is her, Charlize Theron. And Edward Norton is the villain. Cool. But this movie is actually a remake of a Michael Caine film. It's all about a group of people that go on a heist together, but one of their friends and their partners ends up betraying them. They end up killing one of their own. He ends up killing one of their own people in the beginning, and then he takes all the money for themselves, well, all the gold that they get in the beginning of the movie, and takes it for himself. So the rest of the movie is about the crew. This crew right here. The ensemble. Oh yeah, Mos Def is in this. I keep forgetting. Yeah. The crew gets together, and it's this cat and mouse game, and they're trying to outwit each other. And the things that they do, as they do this back and forth, just gets amplified and amplified and amplified. So you get to that final chase scene with the Mini Coopers and the helicopters and the armored trucks. And there's never a dull moment in this movie. And I really do think, even though there's the ensemble, Jason Statham steals the show because he has some really great one-liners in this, and even the backstory and the whole, like, there's a running joke about why he's called Handsome Rob, and it is hilarious. So if you haven't seen The Italian Job, the remake, I highly recommend it. It's not a large role, but he makes every second on screen count. Especially when it comes to like the rivalry between him and Seth Green. It's hilarious. So again, this isn't like your typical Jason Statham film. He doesn't do a lot of fighting in this movie, but still, the acting in this from his performance is incredible, hilarious. Sometimes playing against type is good. But again, this didn't qualify because it wasn't, well, it's more of an ensemble movie. And he doesn't have that big role like in the other ones. So the next honorable mention is another unconventional movie for Jason Statham. Sorry, I can't type. Try that again. Here we go. It's called The Bank Job. And to be honest, this one actually slipped past me when I was doing my Jason Statham binge throughout the week. A lot of these movies were first-time watches for me, including this one. But I really enjoyed it. There it is. Here's the poster. The Bank Job. And now this is interesting because I wouldn't really consider this one to be an action movie. This is more of a dramatic role for Jason Statham. But again, it's more of an ensemble. So that's why it didn't make the cut in the top 5. But this one, this is more about the characters. It's more performance driven. And Jason Statham, the fighting starts more toward the end. It's only a few fight scenes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It really says something when when an actor kind of makes a character his own and really commands the screen like that. This is one of his more dramatic roles, and I really appreciate that he's willing to try different things like that. So the cast and the crew include, it was directed by Roger Donaldson. It was written by Dick Clement and Ian LaFrance. Frenes? No, wait. Frenas. I'm not sure how you say that. Sorry if I butchered that. Excuse me. Stars Jason Statham as Terry Leather, Saffron Burrows, and Stephen Campbell. And what's really interesting about this movie is you're never really sure where the plot's going. You're not sure who to trust and who you shouldn't trust. People get crossed, people get double crossed, people get triple crossed. Like, this is a really smart film because it keeps you guessing. Because their plan too is really interesting. They actually, no, I'm not going to talk about their plan because it's a big part of the plot and the things involved. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about the plan itself. But I will talk about this little description here. It says, Terry is a small-time car dealer trying to leave his shady past behind to start a family. Martine is a beautiful model from Terry's old neighborhood who knows Terry is no angel. When Martine proposes a foolproof plan to rob a bank, Terry recognizes the danger but realizes this may be the opportunity of a lifetime. And again, without saying too much, you won't believe some of the directions this movie goes. And the way this movie ends is incredible. It's so satisfying. Even though you don't see it coming, it's one of those movies that kind of makes you think about what you just watched. So that's The Bank Job. Again, this is an ensemble movie, and there's a lot of characters in this movie, but Jason Statham is the one that carries the film. So that's why I didn't make the cut, because it's not all about his character. It's about the Martine character too, and there's a few other side plots. But yeah, this is an unconventional film for him. That's why I like it so much. It's different. So that is The Bank Job. We just have a few more to run through. The next honorable mention is another underrated film, in my opinion. It might also be forgotten by most people because it came out so long ago, but that movie is Death Race. So same idea as some of these other ones. This is a large ensemble movie that just happens to star Jason Statham. And this movie has some of the most insane driving stunts I've ever seen put on screen, including the Fast and the Furious. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. This movie was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. That sounds familiar. It's because he directed the Resident Evil movies, and he directed the first Mortal Kombat movie that came out in 1995. I think it was 95. No. It might have been sooner, like 93. Yeah. Anyways. It was written by Paul W.S. Anderson, Robert Tom, sorry if I butchered that, and Charles B. Griffith. Stars Jason Statham as Jensen Ames, Joan Allen, and Tyrese Gibson. That's just a few people. Like, this movie has a huge cast. And a lot of the characters don't make it toward the end, given the title. That's not a spoiler. Look at the title. Yeah, this is one of those action movies. It's not really about the fighting. It's all about the driving. And I just noticed that. That's funny. This movie takes place in 2020. It came out in 2008. I love when movies from the past have their depictions of the future, like how the 1950s thought how the future would be, or how in the year 2000, or how even in 2008, this is what we thought it would be like in the year 2020. It's just funny in retrospect. But yeah, that is Death Race. Great movie. This is one that's insanely rewatchable. And again, the action is incredible. Highly recommend Death Race. The next honorable mention is another one that might be forgotten because it came out so long ago. It's The Mechanic. And I actually forgot that this one had a sequel. But I'm just talking about the first one. The sequel's okay. That's the thing about Jason Statham. Even like the movies that are average, you know, like Wild Card or what's the other one? Parker. They're still pretty good. But yeah, let's talk about The Mechanic. Jason Statham plays a hitman in this. This came out in 2011. It was directed by Simon West and written by Richard Wenk, W-E-N-K, and Louis John Carlino. It stars Jason Statham as Arthur Bishop. It stars Ben Foster, and it's got Donald Sutherland. So this is a really good movie because this really took everything that you know about Jason Statham and it amplifies it to another level, kind of like what the Transporter 2 did, but this is its own movie. Like, it's a totally unrelated character. It takes the hitman story and it goes in a certain way because he has to kill somebody that he's close to, so he has to have that decision, and then he has to live with that decision afterward. I'm not going to say what the decision is or anything like that, because this is the kind of movie that you could rewatch and it makes you think about all the things that you saw, because it'll show something and it'll do like kind of a flashback to see how things went from the other side of things. So you see it from one angle, then you see the same situation from another angle, and then you see the bigger picture in retrospect. So that's why I like The Mechanic. It's really fun like that. And also the performances between Jason Statham and Ben Foster are really good in this. They have this chemistry because Statham kind of takes on Ben Foster like under his wing, and he kind of trains him to be a hitman. But this is one of those movies. It's really fun to see how it goes because it goes in unexpected directions. It's one of those movies I don't want to say too much about because it does have a really good plot. And the action in this movie is insane. Some of the ways that, because the way he does it is he kills people, but he makes it look like accidents. And it's really funny some of the way things are staged out. Like in one scene, he's scuba diving and he drowns someone, but he makes it look like the person is still swimming after he's been murdered. It's funny the way it kind of reminds me of like a Hitman movie, like the video games, but this isn't related to that. It's totally separate. That's The Mechanic. Great movie. Highly recommend. The next honorable mention. Actually, hold on. Before I do that, let's go back to the live stream for a moment. It's going to look weird on my screen, I know. Let's see the comments for a moment. So far, my sister says, great picks. Thanks, sis. And then Sabrina says, The Mechanic is in my top picks. Yeah, love The Mechanic. Highly recommended. So, the next honorable mention. Again, this is a large ensemble film. So, let's go back to Letterboxd. This is fun. This is what I've been trying to do the whole time, and I just couldn't quite figure it out. But I was watching other YouTubers that had the live streams, and they were doing a little bit differently. I found out that what I was doing, I was trying to share different tabs. But what I did this time that was different is I shared the whole window. So that's why it's working now. Oh, got to focus on what I'm typing. It's hard to talk and type. So the next honorable mention, oops, I forgot something. Is The Expendables 2. The first one was good, don't get me wrong, but really it's the second one that I want to highlight. Because there's 4 Expendables movies, but really I only really like the first 2. So Expendables 2, yeah. This movie was directed by Simon West. It was written by Richard Wank, Sylvester Stallone, and Ken Kaufman. And in this one, Jason Statham plays Lee Christmas. It's also got Sylvester Stallone, Liam Hemsworth, and Jet Li. And so many more. There's so many people in this. Like, look at this list. I'm not even going to list everybody, but oh my God, look at this list. It's just a few. We got Chuck Norris, we got Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the list goes on. Holy crap, that's a lot of people. That's not even all of them. Show all. Nope, not doing that. So many characters. So again, just like the other ensemble movies, that's why this one didn't make the cut in the top 5. Yeah, this is just one of those movies, kind of like Transporter 2. It takes everything great about the original Expendables and amplifies it and makes it more over the top and more overblown. But one of the problems with this one is there's too many characters. So you have this huge list of people and you're expecting to see certain actors, but then they only have like one scene. So they're in the movie for like 2 minutes. And then it goes on to the next one. And then it goes on to the main story. And then you see people pop up and then they're gone. That's one of the reasons I heard rumors that Jackie Chan was invited to be in these movies, but he turned it down because there was too many actors involved already. So that's just a little fun fact for you. But yeah, this one, it really reminds me of those classic 80s and 90s action movies when you go off to a far off country, there's a problem going on, and the people go in there, they have to fix that problem. And the chemistry between the actors is amazing. You wouldn't think so many stars in one movie would work so well because they're trying to like all hog the screen time. But no, it's not like that at all. Each character, especially Jason Statham, they kind of have their moments where they stand out. So that's why I like The Expendables 2. There they are. Look at that cast. Wow. So if you like 80s and 90s action movies, highly recommend The Expendables. The next honorable mention is the only horror movie on my list. That is The Meg. Jason Statham versus the giant shark. Yes, please. This movie came out in 2018. It was directed by John Turteltaub. I think that's how you say that. Sorry if I butchered that. It's got Jason Statham. I got his character name. 1 second. Oh, okay, I forgot to do his character name. Okay, well, oh well. It was written by Dean Georget, John Hober, and Enric Hober. It was based on a book called Meg by Steve Alton. It's got Jason Statham, obviously. It's got Lee Bingbing, Rainn Wilson, Ruby Rose, Winston Chow, and Cliff Curtis. So yeah, basically this movie is exactly like it's advertised. But I'm a sucker for shark movies. And when it comes to giant sharks, and Jason Statham is the one man that can fight them, I'm there. Sold. This is kind of like a mix of like Jaws, a little bit of Deep Blue Sea, because it's got that not really sci-fi aspect to it, but it's got that outrageous, larger-than-life component to it. Because actually, this it's not really a spoiler, but it's a Megalosaurus, which is like a dinosaur shark, technically. So yeah, love Meg. This is one of the movies that's insanely rewatchable too, just because it's actually way more heartfelt than you would expect. Because it's all about the relationship between a mom and a daughter, and Jason Statham is there too, just trying to keep things like under control, so to speak. I was trying to think how to put that without saying too much. He's like the only one who knows how to handle the situation, and of course, nobody listens to him until it's too late. But I love when dumb people are in creature features like this. I'm a sucker for a good creature feature, so that's the Meg. The next honorable mention. Okay, I got 2 more. And I'll talk about number 1. Oh, I clicked it already. So silly me. This is another one. I don't know how it slipped past me, but this was the first time watch for me. And I was blown away by how good this movie is. I can't believe it slipped past me. I'm embarrassed. Because whenever there's a new Jason Statham movie, I'm usually right there. It's called Wrath of Man. This flick came out in 2021. So it's not even like it's an old movie. How did this get by me? I will never know. Sorry, my internet's being a little slow. Here it comes. Yeah, Wrath of Man. And this movie's good because it's kind of like The Bank Job in a way that it's a heist flick, but it's not your average heist movie. Excuse me, 1 second. The whole time you think it's building up one direction and it goes this certain way, but then it just kind of branches off in these other directions. And then you realize, wait, it's not really about what I thought it was about. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk the cast and crew, shall we? So it was directed by Guy Ritchie, written by Nicolas Beaucrief. Sorry if I butchered that. Eric Bernard and Guy Ritchie. I love that these two keep pairing up together because they work really well together. And this is another one. I wouldn't really consider this to be an action movie. It does have action scenes in it, but they're kind of spaced out. They're kind of few and far between. And it's more of a dramatic role. This is more character driven. You really feel the pain of this character. Obviously, based on the title, this is a revenge story. And basically, Jason Statham is involved in a bank heist, but it goes south. It doesn't go the way that you think it goes. And then he wants to get revenge on the other people that he was working with before. So he ends up working for an armored truck company because what happened is a group of people rob an armored truck. And then Jason Statham helps them out. And then he works for the armored truck company. So he's not involved with the heist after a while. It's really interesting how it goes. So that's Wrath of Man. This is one of those movies. It's really smart. And I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to ruin anything. But again, people double cross each other. There's triple crosses. That's the good thing about Guy Ritchie movies. He makes you think you're going down one path, and then all of a sudden he pulls the rug out from under you, and then boom, we're in a whole different story. Well, not a whole different story, but we're going a whole new direction that you probably didn't expect. I like when writers and directors keep the audience on their toes like that. And it really says a lot about when movies are written and directed by the same people. They have that singular vision, and it really shows in Guy Ritchie films especially. I got like 4 or 5 Guy Ritchie movies on this list, actually. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, and Josh Hartnett is in this movie, too. No, yeah, he is. Yeah. He's in Wrath of Man, and he's in Operation Fortune. So that's awesome. Jason Statham plays Holt McClaney. I think that's how you say that. Yeah, typical Jason Statham story. He's got your average job, and then he gets put into a situation that he doesn't really want to be in, but he kind of helps out the bank heist. Not a bank, but he helps out with the robbery anyways, and then he gets in this sticky situation, and he has to get out of it. And then you got that revenge plot thrown in too. So it's like a heist movie. It's like a revenge movie. It's the best of both worlds, really. So that's why I like The Wrath of Man. That's the most recent one that I watched when I did my Jason Statham binge throughout the week. And now, the final honorable mention. I actually think this movie is better than Working Man. Because The Working Man's good. Don't get me wrong. I like The Working Man, but it didn't make my top 5. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie by any stretch. I love A Working Man. I just like this one a little bit more. I was pleasantly surprised by this. My final honorable mention is The Beekeeper. Now I know what you're thinking, just by the name of that title. This movie's going to be really stupid, right? No, wrong. I could not believe how emotional I was getting during this movie because the first, not 20, first 10 minutes are going to infuriate you because it's all about a phone scam. And there's this old lady that falls for it, kind of like the movie Thelma, but this is completely different than Thelma because something happens to this old lady and she gets scammed for all of her money. And then it takes a dark turn and Jason Statham wants to get revenge on the people that scammed her, but it goes way deeper than you thought. This turns out to be a conspiracy movie, and it's really cool the way it goes, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we? This was directed by David Ayer. It was written by Kurt Wimmer. Sorry if I butchered that. Jason Statham plays Adam Clay. It's also got Emmy Raver Lampman and Bobby Nadiri. And the cool thing about this is the action. This movie is so fast-paced and it's so action-packed. And it's just so like the way the lighting is, the cinematography, the camera movements. This movie is so much fun and it's got so much energy. And actually, it actually reminds me a lot about John Wick. Because it goes into the secret society of beekeepers and how they protect the hive, which is like a metaphor for like society, and how they have all these like bee-related like metaphors, and they have all these bee puns. And I love how they just take this one idea and they just go for it, and they just don't hold back at all. It's great. But one thing I have to complain about this movie, because my first question when I heard the title, does Jason Statham kill people with bees? Sadly, no. He doesn't. He uses honey to kill somebody once. I was really looking forward to like bee kills. That would have been hilarious. This is just cheesy, like over the top, cartoonish fun. I love The Beekeeper. I wrote it off at first. I didn't think it was going to be very good, but I gave it a chance. And when I watched it, I loved it. It was great. And now, my number 1 pick. Actually, before I get to that, I want to go right back to the comments real quick. Let's see if there is any. Oh, we got quite a few comments here. Okay. So I will scroll up a little bit. And I will go to this. Here we go. All right. Now let's go where I left off. Here we are. Quite a few comments. My sister stepped away for a bit. Yeah, I talked about The Expendables and The Expendables 2. More specifically, The Expendables 2. I like that one more. So that deserved the honorable mention because I took everything about the first one and made it better, like the transporter treated. Love The Expendables. It's a great homage to those 80s action movies too, especially seeing all these stars in one movie. I never thought I'd see all these people in one movie. And then they made 4 of them. Wow. But like I said, I don't really like the third and the fourth one. I keep forgetting Antonio Banderas is in the third one. And I don't really remember the fourth one, to be honest. I've only watched it like once or twice, but it's just not up there with the other two. So the honorable mention goes to Expendables 2. My sister says, I think he was the last one, if memory serves correctly. I'm not sure what you mean. Serena says, Wrath of Man is my number 2 movie. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good one. She's the one that actually recommended that to me. All right. Now, let's get to the main event, shall we? And now, my number 1 pick. Drum roll, please. My number 1 pick for my favorite Jason Statham movie. Really, there's no competition, especially after watching all these other ones. I actually specifically waited. I watched this one last just to see if it would hold up because I wanted to watch all those other ones first. But now, my number 1 pick, Crank. Let's pull up that poster. I love Crank. There's really no competition. I mean, it's an incredible film. What's going on here? Oh, wait. Let's do this. No, wait, how did I do that? Okay, screw it. Let's just go full screen. No, that's not full screen. This one? This one. No, wait, I can do this. Here we go, full screen. All right. Let's get that poster. But when it comes to over-the-top action, over-the-top performances, from a technical standpoint too, the way this movie is shot is incredible. There's a mix of like handheld shaky cams. There's some first-person perspective stuff. There's a lot of hand-to-hand combat in this, and the action, the way it's filmed, is so good. Again, it's got those long takes where it holds the camera back and he fights these large groups of people all at once. But, okay, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Cast and crew. Where is it? One second. Here we are. Crank came out in 2006. It was directed by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. Also written by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, too. Jason Statham plays Chef Chelios. It's also got Amy Smart and Carlos Sanz. Sorry if I butchered that. But basically, Chef Chelios is a hitman wanting to go straight when he sees his latest target slip away. Then he wakes up the next morning with a phone call that informs him he's been poisoned with only an hour to live unless he keeps his adrenaline coursing through his body while he searches for the antidote. So basically, This movie is just one big adrenaline rush. This is one of the most fast-paced movies, but it doesn't feel rushed. It's got the character development that you want to. It's got really good acting. This is one of his best performances, in my opinion. Not just because he's cranked up at like 15 the whole time, but it actually does take time to show how much he's suffering through all this too. He's not invincible like he is in some of his later movies. So yeah, he's got this poison and he's got to keep his heart pumping the whole time or else he's going to die. And from start to finish, this movie really is nonstop. And some of the stuff that goes on, like you'll believe. This has one of the funniest sex scenes that's ever been in the movie too, between him and Amy Smart. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it. But all I'll say is, I'm alive! If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's pull up this poster. Yeah. Yeah, let's go back. And hey, I'm back. Awesome. So yeah, as far as the writing goes, this is a very concise story. It's very focused. There's no other side plots. There's only one plot in this movie. It's all about Chef Chelios trying to make it out alive. Whether he does or not, I'm not going to say. Because this movie is just one of those movies you have to see to believe it. I can tell you what happens in this movie, but still, it doesn't do this movie justice. This movie is one of those movies that you just have to witness it and you just have to see it for yourself. Otherwise, the description's kind of meaningless. I could tell you some of the action scenes, but no. This is one of those movies I just love so much, and I've seen it again and again. This is one of those movies that you just throw on because it's just so rewatchable. It's fun to watch with friends. It's fun to watch reactions from people when you put this movie on for them the first time and you see how they react to this movie. It is great. Now, this movie does have a sequel. There is a Crank 2. However, I don't like that movie so much. It's not as good. It feels like a rehash. And then the direction that movie goes, oh my goodness. That movie is just so like off the rails and off the wall. Like it's fun, don't get me wrong, but it kind of branches up to that level of the absurd where you really have to suspend your suspension of disbelief. Suspend your suspension. Yeah. Okay. I think that works. Yeah. I'm just gonna go with that. So again, this is one of those movies. It doesn't go the way that you think it's gonna go. Jason Statham isn't really the hero in this movie, too. I'd argue he's more of a villain because some of the stuff he does, like he has no redeemable qualities in this movie at all, but it doesn't matter because this movie is just so much fun. I mean, this movie is like a really long advertisement for Rockstar energy drinks too, because the things he does to keep his heart pumping are hilarious. Like he rocks out to music, he does cocaine, he drinks all these energy drinks. He has sex with his girlfriend in public places. But again, I don't want to say too much because it's hilarious how over the top this is. It's one of those cheesy movies. I actually can't really think of any movie that's like this. It's hard to compare this movie to other movies because it's just so unique. It's so different from any other movies. Yeah, there's movies that are fast paced and there's movies that are high energy, but not like Crank. Like even the sequel, it tries to mimic what happens, but I don't think this movie needs a sequel. The way that it ends, it's very satisfying. So those are the reasons why Crank is my number one movie. What's your favorite Jason Statham movie? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. So to wrap things up, at number 5, hold on, I want to get the right order. If I could do my password. There we go. Yeah. Number 5, I had Operation Fortune. At number 4 was a tie between Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious. At number 3, Spy. Number 2 was Transporter 2. And number 1 is Crank. But really, there is no competition. I mean, Transporter 2 is here, and Crank is just like way, way, way up high. Like there's so many good things going for Crank. The cinematography, the filmmaking, the way that they incorporate different types of shots too. They got these tight shots, they got these first-person perspective shots. They have the shaky cam. They have wide-angle like fights on top of roofs. There's a fight in a helicopter. Like this movie's just so insane with the action. Again, I'm telling you about it, but once you see it, you can see just how amplified this movie is. There's so much going on here. I love it. I love it. I love Crank. So that's my show. It's all about Jason Statham tonight. Do you agree with my picks? Was there a Jason Statham movie that I didn't mention that you think is worth mentioning? Oh, we have a comment here. Sabrina says, my number one is A Working Man. Yeah, I understand that because it really hits hard for home for parents. That's partially the reason why it didn't make my top 5, because I don't have any kids myself. So as much as I like that movie, I just couldn't relate to the character on that level. Not that I can relate to like a hitman that has to keep his heart pumping or else he's going to die in an hour. But hey, it's all about personal preference, right? I think the age is the factor too. I came out, I'm like, oh, no. This movie came out, and a lot of Jason Statham movies came out at just the right time in my life, if that makes sense. Because I was in high school in 2000, and that was right around the time my sister was finishing high school. She came out, and I came in. So I was the target audience for a lot of those movies that came out around that time that had Jason Statham in it. And I just love a good old-fashioned action flick. I wouldn't even argue that Jason Statham is one of the last great action stars of today. But the definition, kind of like what a movie star is, the definition of an action star is really changed nowadays. And I think old school action movies are kind of a dying art. So that's why I really appreciate the Jason Statham movies, because they really bring it back home to the way films used to be made. And I think we need more of that in modern Hollywood. So that's my show for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you like and subscribe. And I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for my next episode yet. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to comment below. Thank you, Sabrina. She agrees with that final thought that I had. So I'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Do you like my hoodie? This is from America. This is an American Grimm hoodie. I got it at, I think it was Premiere at the Falls last year. Can you see that on the camera there? They even signed it for me. Can you see that on the camera? You can kind of see it. Oh, well. I'm glad you like the show, Sabrina. Thank you for watching. So, without further ado, good night, everybody. I'll see you next week. Thank you for clicking on my video. Thank you for clicking on my video. Sorry, that was the wrong one. That was the intro. Wrong button. Take 2. Gotta love live TV, right? I'll see you at the movies. Have a great day. Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, and I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live. So I'll leave links below for that too.